We are awakening. We are awakening.
Wonderful.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all for being here tonight. Tama's so excited to see you. I just wanted to start just with a really quick introduction so that just to say a little bit about you. I was very excited to find Tama. When I first found Tama, I thought that I was looking for a career change. And what I learned was that what I was really looking for was the opportunity to heal. Hi, Paul.
Oh, hi.
So I can't say enough wonderful things about Tama. When people ask me to describe her, I often describe her as an aunt, sister, mother, friend, cousin, one of those people that you just trust so much in your life, who will help guide you through to the truth and just is the cheerleader in your corner, constantly pulling you along, reminding you that everything that you need is inside and constantly pointing you back inside. So Tama, thank you so much for joining us tonight. So appreciate it. And just so that everyone can get to know you a little bit, I was hoping that if you wouldn't mind, if you would just tell us a little bit about your path, how you went from where you were to where you are now, which is basically spiritual mentor, speaker, author, life coach, catalyst. On top of favored aunt, sister and mother.
I've done a few things, yeah. There's that saying, of course, always that you teach what you need to learn, right? That you teach what you need to learn. And I'm a great example of that for many of us who become inspired leaders to other people, it's because we went through our own transition, or we went through our own needing to go beyond our own fears. And I know many people probably know my story, some might not. So I'll just tell it very briefly of, when I was younger, I knew a desire I had that I wanted to be. I wanted to be a writer. That's all I ever dreamed of doing. But I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and my family, by the way, is Orthodox Jewish. And so, when I said things like, oh, I want to find my calling and my dreams, and, I basically got, you're going to write, you're going to starve, and so it was very much, the fears were considered practical. And so I ignored everything I wanted, and I went to law school instead, and I went to Harvard Law School and graduated with honors, and I was on partnership track in a major firm. And like many of us at different walks of life, I just had this meltdown, this disconnection of feeling like, is this all there is? I'm doing what other people tell me to do, but it doesn't feel right to me. Is this all there is, right? And thank God at the time I had a friend, and he said, think about it. If you've been this successful doing something you don't even love, what could you do with what you love? And so that was one of my awakenings, was realizing that maybe love was more important than fear. Maybe love and inspiration and what I really wanted. And so, long story short, I basically walked out of my career, my life, my identity without anything, without any plan, without much money to speak of, without anything, to really decide to listen to my own inner voice, because I wanted to be a writer. That's the only thing I knew. I didn't even know what that meant. And that's how I discovered A Course in Miracles, was because, like many of us probably, when you're scared out of your freaking mind, and all of a sudden, like all your normal ideas of security are not cutting it anymore, you become open-minded. And so I initially mocked A Course in Miracles. I initially thought, I don't think this is going to be for me. The language of it really freaked me out at the time. But it was one of those things where the love and the consistency and the logic of it was so profound. And I started studying it. So anyway, long story short, basically, in healing myself, that's how I began healing other people, in writing and teaching and coaching and anything else you want to know. So
That's gorgeous. Thank you, Tam. Tama mentioned that she'd authored a few books. She's got 4 to be exact. One of my favorites is This Time I Dance. And I believe this was your first book. And when I was first given this book, or when I was first told about this book, I bought the book, promptly put it on my shelf, and left it there. Then took it out and put it on my nightstand and left it there some more. Then took it and brought it on an airplane where I left it. And then finally said, okay, it's time to pick up this book. And once I picked it up, I could not put it down. Like, you just spoke to my soul. The journey of trying to get there, in terms of, you talk about it in a way that makes you realize that none of this happens overnight. So I was hoping you might tell us a little bit about your path to writing this first book, which, by the way, is called This Time I Dance, ! Creating the work you love.
The journey of writing that book. How long you got? We don't want to go there. And all my books, as you know, all of my books are very, very honest and are very, very real. And what I wanted in my books, but I wanted as a teacher, right? When I take classes, or when I, teach A Course in Miracles, for me, I wanted somebody that was telling me how it worked for them, what was real for them, just because a lot of times we have experts that are telling us the 5 easiest steps, or even spiritual mentors who are so beautiful. But, like, I'll read something about, and then I was enlightened, or then I found inner peace. And I'm like, wait, tell me the part where you were nuts. Like, tell me that part. Like, how did you get to that part? Right. And so again, so much of what my work is really about learning how to listen to that inner voice of love, and that inner voice of peace, and that inner voice of genius. And for many of us, I think that takes a while to learn, that it's easy to say it, but to really learn it, and to really trust it, and to give your life over to this other voice. So, I always tell people it took me 12 years to write my first book, This Time I Dance. But I always tell people, I think it took me 11 years to heal, 11 years to trust in myself, 11 years to trust the universe, 11 years to trust that I wasn't crazy, that this isn't delusional, that I can really rely on this inner voice, and 1 year to write a book. And so, for me, to this day, it's still a process, because I think the deeper we go into our spirituality, and the deeper we go into our life's calling, and the deeper we go into everything we are meant to be on this planet, it means trusting that voice more and more and more with everything we have. And for most of us, that means letting go of fear and letting go of limitations. And sometimes when I say letting go of fear, for me, it was letting go of what I thought was practical. It was letting go of habitual thinking. It was letting go of my culture. I was not raised to, yes, go forth and follow an inner voice. That was not my education, right? It was like, ignore your inner voice, just take these steps, right? And I'm sure a lot of people find this, that the more you trust your inner voice, it's not always saying do the predictable thing. A lot of times it's asking us or inviting us to go where we haven't gone before. And that's frightening to many of us. But I think deeply we are learning how to cultivate a relationship with this love, with this beloved inside that will take us anywhere and everywhere. So when I was first writing This Time I Dance, there was so much going on for me, because I was freaking out. I just left everything without a plan, without anything, and I was just like trying on these concepts or principles. And then I was also like starting to, figure out alternative ways to support myself, And so, because by the way, how an inspired life or inspired plan often works is it's not linear, right? It's not like step 1, do this, step 2, do that. First, write a book, then do that, then do this. For me, I didn't even know that I was going to write a book. I didn't even know what I was going to write. But as I was following it, I realized I wanted to be around other creative people or people on the journey or spiritual people. So I started a support group, and just for me. And then people kept saying, God, you're so good at teaching. Would you consider doing workshops? So I played with doing a workshop. I'd never done it, And then when I started doing workshops, people asked me, would you ever work one-on-one with me? And so I started doing that, and I started coaching people. And so literally one thing led to another. I had no idea that I was going to end up becoming a national expert on career transition, or that I speak now all over the country in different parts of the world. That was never in my plans. For me, it was just about healing, right? It was just about, I was scared out of my mind. So this time I dance took a long time to write, but so much else was going on. So I'm saying this to people who are listening. If things are going on in your life where they're taking a while, please keep in mind so much else is happening. So much else is going on. This isn't just about the thing. It's about retraining our brain, retraining our vibration, retraining everything. So like I said, I could talk all night about that, but I won't.
That's beautiful, though. What a great testament to, just really trusting yourself and following the cues and letting life unfold. I mean, I didn't hear you say, I did this, I did that. I heard a lot of just following where the guidance took you, which brings me back to, you said something.
I'll go back to that. I'll tell you what I did do. I fought it. This is what I did. This is my part. This is my contribution to the journey. I fought it like crazy every step of the way. Just in case anybody's getting this illusion that I'm like this guided, trusting individual, let's get that out of the window, of just because I fought it constantly. I was terrified, right? And terrified and exhilarated. Terrified and exhilarated, because the one thing I will tell you, when I teach A Course in Miracles, the one thing I always tell my students is practice this. You will see results. Practice this. Test it out. Take it for a test drive. Stop thinking and thinking and thinking. Do follow what that voice says. And that was the thing for me, is that even though I fought it and even though I was scared, it would always work. It always worked, and it built a consistency and a level of trust. I still fight it. To this day, I'm arguing as we speak with that voice that's asking me to go somewhere else. But I also know, well, that's how I do relationships. So there you have it. But it's also, for me, it's for all of us, we are undoing fear, right? We are undoing our habitual ways of thinking. And so if anybody is struggling or having fears around it, to me, that's what's normal. So anyway, I just wanted to say that just in case we were giving the illusion that I just followed it and it all just worked out beautifully. So anyway.
I love it. I think, gosh, that is just my favorite. When I listen to you read your books, because I do have them on Audible, what I love about reading your books is it's literally like having a conversation with someone. It's as if I'm in the room with you and we're just having a good old chit chat. So I appreciate that, your rawness and your honesty. I just wanted to ask, I wanted to go back to what you were saying about A Course in Miracles, and when you teach it to your students, that you're basically just telling them to go back and practice. How did you come across, how did that all happen for you? How did the Course in Miracles come into your life? I heard you say I was scared, and so now I was open, but
yes. It was interesting because, I had a boyfriend at the time, and he, looked at all kinds of metaphysical things, and he would share them with me, and I'd be somewhat open-minded, but, I'm fresh out of law at this moment, like when he's showing me stuff, right? So I'm really skeptical and cynical. Plus I'm from New York City, right? So it's like a double combination there. And so he starts showing me A Course in Miracles. He's found A Course in Miracles. And my first reaction, this tells you how enlightened I am, was get that junk away from me. This is how you know, this is how you know your life's calling, that I'm going to now be teaching you for the next 30 years. Get that junk away from me. And so, because I looked at it and, at first for me, it was really scary because I read some of it and it has, Christian sounding language. And again, I was raised Jewish, so that was hard. And I wasn't down with the whole, like we're not a body and we're going to follow all this. And, but what he did was really amazing. He stopped showing it to me and he started teaching me some concepts without telling me where it was from. And so he would teach me something or share something and I'd be like, oh my God, that's amazing. Oh my God, I love that. That's amazing. And he's like, it's in that blue book you won't look at. It's in that blue book you won't look at. And so I, enlightened wonder that I am, made him a deal saying, okay, I'm going to make you a deal. I'm going to read that book cover to cover like a lawyer. I'm going to read that book cover to cover like a lawyer and show you how inconsistent it is, how silly it is, blah, blah, blah. I have been reading that book cover to cover ever since, because for me, even though it was scary, and we all have our different ways of coming to spirituality, and we all have our different ways of relating or why we relate to something. But what spoke to me, what continues to speak to me, is there is an authority and a consistency in that book I have never found anywhere else. And so there is a love in it that I have never seen anywhere else for me. And I just thought, whatever this is, it's so much wiser than me. I will serve this with my lifetime. I will fight it, but I will serve this with my lifetime because there was something in it that was just so much wiser and so much more loving than I knew how to be. When it asks you to love everybody, the second I started reading about loving everybody unconditionally, that everybody's in this party or nobody's in this party, right? Like the second I started reading that, like for me, I realized, okay, this is a God I can get behind. And when it was just this thing of like giving and, and sharing the highest level of everything you are and not being limited, I thought, okay, this, I will work with this. And so that's how I came to it, was just in a very interesting way.
That's such a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Something you said just kind of struck a chord with me. I notice sort of an internal struggle, I guess is probably the best way to put it, with this desire to heal and the fear that it's going to take too long, as if there's like an end point. And as if in that end point, somehow, whatever it is that I think I'm getting from spirituality, and I realize even as I say this out loud that none of this is true, but I do notice the internal struggle that continues. And in some ways I feel like I almost feel like it's not being fully committed to the healing, because there's still this fear, because you talked about, leaving the job, not having any resources. Like, what would you say about getting through that sort of stickiness? Like, I know that there is no endpoint for the healing. I know that there's nothing to get at the end of the rainbow, that this is what this is about. So how?
But is the question? But is it going to take too long? Is that the buried question? Like, I know there's nowhere to get to, but is it going to take too long? Is that what you're asking?
I think the buried question is how to release the stickiness around that. Oh my gosh, this is going to take too long, and like there's somewhere to get.
So it's so funny because I had the opposite fear when I first started my spiritual path. I mean, when I first started my spiritual path, I had the arrogance to believe, oh, don't study this too deeply, Tam. You'll hit enlightenment right away. There was this fear that I was going to read the book and immediately evaporate into light. And so I thought, now I don't know if I want to do this right away. I want to go on vacation first. I want to try a few things on earth first, and then I'll evaporate into light. I have since gotten over that fear, and 30 years in, I'm not worried that I'm getting anywhere this too soon. But I really did. I had this fear. And again, I think we all have a fear that we will leave behind what we know, or that we will leave behind our identity, or we will leave behind normalcy, or we will leave behind security, and that we somehow can't trust this path, that we somehow can't trust God, or that we somehow can't trust the spirit, that we will evaporate, right? So that was my fear. Then it went into what your thing is. Then, the ego is always like, okay, if I can't get you this way, I'll get you that way, right? So if I can't, if the fear is, oh my God, this is going to work too soon, well, that fear's gone. Now it's like, oh, it's going to take forever. So to your point, or at least what I'm hearing in your point, is it is a really very different way to live, because A Course in Miracles says that this is a journey without beginning or end, right? This is a journey without beginning or end. And it's not like a journey where, like you said, I arrive at a mountaintop and then I'm there. The other side of it, though, what I will say for me is that it's not even a linear journey. For me, it's a moment by moment journey. There are moments when I'm here now, I'm there. There's nowhere else to get to because I'm there. When you're in fear and then it's gone, and you're in love and you're in connection, there's nowhere else to get to, right? So for me, again, it is this moment by moment journey. And again, the concept of there, like I kept thinking, like in the career journey part, like once I publish a book, then I will be okay. Once I hit the bestseller list, then I will be okay. Okay, once I publish another book, I'll be okay. Okay, once that, I mean, like literally it goes on and on and on. And A Course in Miracles teaches that the ego says, once this is different, I'll be saved. Once this is different, I'll be saved, right? Once this person does exactly what I want, oh, I'll be saved, right? And so we learn the illusion of that, of there's nowhere to get to. And by nowhere to get to, I don't mean that in a nihilistic way, right? Because I used to hear stuff like that and get depressed. There's nowhere to get to, like that never made me happy. Now it does, because now I get what it means. But that for me, it is a moment by moment. I'm not trying to get somewhere else as much as I'm trying to, what the Course in Miracles says, let go of the obstacle that's in the way of the awareness of love's presence, right? That love is always present. The healing is always present. The miracle is always present. But there is a thought that's in the way. So I guess for me, it's not even so much that it's going to take so long, but what it is, it's not even the fear that it's going to take so long. It's trusting that being at peace and loving is enough. It's trusting that when I get out of fear and I trust and I'm here, that's enough. But I think the deeper we go into that relationship, it really is turning our lives over to that relationship. And we realize, yeah, whatever this is, I want this, right?
Thank you for that. That was very, very beautiful. I just wanted to take a breath for a moment. And I noticed, my gosh, it's 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock already. Just to invite anyone, should anyone feel called, have questions, I want
to talk to anybody, everybody, on anything, Yeah. Doesn't need to be related at all. Don't worry. It could be anything about A Course in Miracles, or anything about how to apply it, or let's fix your life. Let's heal your life.
There we go. Regina, please.
Yeah, I just want to say, hey, I don't know what Tama knows about us, but we're here in Colorado too, Tama.
Oh, how cool. I did not know that.
Not everybody. We're international. There could be people here all over the world, but our headquarters is here in Colorado.
Wow.
We're in Levita. I don't know if you know Levita. It's a teeny tiny town of around 800 people.
Wow.
Colorado. A lot of people from Denver have vacation homes there, but.
Oh, awesome.
I just wanted to say hey to you because we're neighbors.
Hey to you. I know of you. I've heard your name, and I know we've crossed whatever. I did not know you were in Colorado. We'll have to connect sometime.
Someday we'll get together.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Regina.
Connections happening as we speak.
There you go.
Anybody have a shift that they want on anything? Like I like taking this into tangible, making this tangible. It doesn't have to be. Just I'm curious though, if anybody has something they want,
I have a question. I'm not so sure how to put my hand up in this thing.
You worked it, so you figured it out.
Just say it, huh?
Yeah, just say it, baby.
Okay. My question is, what is your concept of surrender? How does that fit into your
hit me where I live, why don't you?
Yeah.
All the pretty language goes out the window now. No. Surrender is, it's so funny because I was just thinking about that earlier today. And surrender's everything, right? For me, and challenging to do. And so surrender for me, I'll just briefly say, surrender isn't defeatism, right? It's not defeatism like, well, I give up, fine, whatever the universe wants, because people surrender that way too, like, fine, whatever. Surrender also isn't abdication, right? Like, I'm just going to give this to the universe. I'm just going to give this to the universe, and whatever happens, happens, right? Because sometimes in spirituality, I see that where we just let go and we're not really continuing to listen. So for me, I have dreams and ambitions. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. I have dreams and ambitions. And so my idea of surrender is I'm going to follow this inner voice and I'm going to go where it tells me to go. And I deeply believe that some of my desires are real, that they're meant to happen or whatever. But I also surrender the timing and the outcome and the attachment. I don't know. It's that, the most beautiful thing about A Course in Miracles and most challenging thing about A Course in Miracles is I don't know, right? It's like being humble, being available. And so it's this razor's edge of, I don't know, and I will listen to anything and receive anything, but I will also act on what I'm told, right? So if you're getting a hit that says you should be a spiritual teacher, or you should write a book, or you should go call so-and-so, it also means listening to that, right? Surrender means I surrender my fears about that. Like, oh, no, I couldn't do that, right? Like one of the things I've had to learn in teaching, for instance, oh my God, so many times, I've been a keynote speaker and blah, blah, blah. And so many times I'm scared. I personally am scared and what I learned from Course in Miracles is it's not what I think I can do. It's what I'm willing to do. It's not what I think I can do. It's what I'm willing to do. So surrender for me is partly that too, right? It's not if I have a belief that says, no, I can't do that. But if I'm having a voice that's saying, go here, loved one, do this, dear one, right? So, and it's an art form. I mean, I'll be learning surrender the rest of my life, but that's what I got for right now. Was that useful? Was that?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome.
Very
Great
much.
question. Thank you. Excellent. As we're talking, it's funny because many of you may know, or I have a book called A Year Without Fear. I don't know if you can see it or not. Am I on, by the way? Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. So I have a book called A Year Without Fear, and it's just a daily, every single day, it's a different meditation or it's a different thought. And what I do a lot of my own work is I take A Course in Miracles and translate it into applications. So anyway, I just decided, wow, it's March 21st. I wanted to see what today's was, And so is it okay if I just read it really briefly just because I thought, oh my God, this is so perfect. Talk about surrender, right? And it's exactly what we're talking about. So I just thought I'm going to read this real quickly. If I can find it real quickly now. Okay. It says, so many people use, and it's exactly what I just said to Ruby. So it was that's what made me think, oh my God, I've got to read this. So many people use trusting the universe or believing in God's plan or whatever's meant to be as a kind of pious reason to sit in their rocking chair, nurse their wounds, and wait for a rainbow, a paycheck, or a patron to show up at their door. Yeah, well, my spirituality is a call to vibrancy. It's got rocket fuel. Because I do trust spirit, because I do believe that I am meant to be who I dream of being, I take action. My faith gives me legs to go with my wings. Today, I take action because I believe that things are working out for me. So that for me was just that distinction about surrender to me isn't so much just, whatever. But I'm going to take action on what I'm given. I'm going to take action on what I'm told, right? And that, again, I believe in a spirituality that gives you vibrancy. I believe in a spirituality that makes you feel more full and more alive than you've ever felt, rather than weaker. So anyway.
Thank you for that. That was very, very profound. Is there, does anyone else have a question? If not, I will.
I see Ann and Sherry. That's what it says, but you're probably not Ann and Sherry. Maybe you are.
There's a Sherry and an Ann. So first,
Okay.
I want to thank you so much for being here, and this is a real treat. In getting to know your work and listening, what I loved hearing you talk about is, this whole, whether you're changing careers or whether we're just kind of surrendering and not knowing. When we're stuck in the not knowing, you talk about that next step, just that next step. And I just would love it if you could just talk about that in a very practical way, because
Absolutely.
that hit right at the right time.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, to just be
Awesome.
like, wait, it's just this next step.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Awesome. First of all, I should mention, I don't know if Rhoda probably will get this to you or maybe has gotten it to you already, but just in case, I'm giving, for this group, we're giving a link to a free class, a class that I did on trust. And it would be really, really helpful to a lot of what we're talking about. So if you decide you want it, it's just tamakieves.com/the word trust. It takes you to a special little link where you get a free webinar that I did that was really popular. So I just wanted to mention that. But, and it covers stuff like this, but let me answer what you just asked. So when we're stuck and we don't know a next step, because sometimes we just feel like I'm listening to Spirit's voice, but I'm not getting anything. Anybody ever feel like that? Like, I'm listening and I'm not getting anything, but I'm listening, but I'm not getting anything. Very often it's because our minds are very busy and our minds are going, it has to be this and not that. And so sometimes that next step has nothing to do with what we think, right? Like, so sometimes, let's say I'm working on a relationship. Should I leave this person? Should I stay? Should I move across the country? Look, whatever your thing is, whatever anybody's dealing with, and we're asking a question, Spirit's always going to give the next answer, but the next answer may not be related to what you think it is, right? So your answer might be, go call your sister. And you're thinking, yeah, that's great, but I need to figure out if I'm going to move across country or not, right? Like, so again, sometimes, this isn't a linear path. It's a moment by moment awakening. And so sometimes it's going to tell you something. For instance, I'll give you an example. I work a lot in the career area, right? Or helping people live their calling and their dreams, right? So people will be talking to me about that. And sometimes what's really coming up is they need to forgive themselves for something in the past. And then it's not about finding the topic for your book, and it's not about how to make money. It's really that I don't trust anything because I'm hurting about this past thing. So my first thing is just some of the little inclinations we're getting in that next step, we might naturally dismiss, because my next step is always go eat peanut butter, go get ice cream. And so it depends who's next. That might be my ego's next step. But again, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it really might be my answer because I need nurturing and I'm scared and I need love and I need forgiveness. And when I need to feel better, and then when I feel better, I'll think better, right? So the first thing that I always teach people when they're trying to make decisions, the first thing I always teach you is you may think that if you make the right decision, you'll have peace of mind. If you make the right decision, you'll have peace of mind. But what A Course in Miracles teaches is when we have peace of mind, we'll make the right decision. When we have peace of mind. So the first thing I would say to you is there is no way you can screw this up. There is no way you can mess this up. There is nothing you can do that's going to get in the way. And so it's like taking away all the fears. Like, don't worry, it will come to you. If it doesn't come this second, it'll come the next second, or in 10 years, or whenever. It'll come its right timing, not our impatient right timing, right? So again, of whatever you can do to let go of the fears and to reassure yourself, because I find I hear my inner voice when I'm self-loving. I do not hear my inner voice when I'm cruel, right? And so again, the more that I tell myself, You can't mess this up. It's fine. You're so loved. Spirit has an infinite freaking ways to reach you. You couldn't do this wrong. You're not allowed. Again, it just takes the pressure off. And then it's like when the pressure's off, it's like, well, if it doesn't matter what my really next step, what I really want to do. And again, when I ask you your next step, it might just be your inspired next step. It might be, I really want to take a nap right now. I really want to take a nap. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to. And that really might be the answer. By the way, I have a chapter in my book, This Time I Dance. If you haven't read it, I have a chapter called The Year of Sleeping Dangerously, because that was my next step. My brain was going, now you got to change your career and you got to figure out your career and you got to whatever. And I needed rest and I needed self-care. And my mind was so against that, was so angry, like, oh, you got to be kidding me. That can't be my answer. But it was. So I don't know if any of that spoke to it. Good. Yay. Awesome. Cool.
Glenda had her hand up as well. Glenda, you want to take the mic?
I think you kind of answered my question from Anne's question, but I'll ask it anyway. When you were talking about surrender,
Mm-hmm.
and you said surrender but take action.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's hard for me in the sense of where do I take action from? Like I can easily get into old habitual ways.
Right. Yes. Good distinction. Good distinction. Thank you. When I said take action, I mean two things. So thank you. I mean take inspired action. I'm not about force. And that's really hard because I'm like you, my old ways and my type A way, like get into action, blah, blah, blah. That's not surrender, right? But when I said surrender but take action, I meant when your spirit says to you, dear one, I want you to write. Or dear one, I want you to go, speak to your mother with love. Or dear one, I want, like when you get or dear one, I want you to do nothing. That might be taking action. Okay. Right? It's just following what you get, because sometimes we get answers. I'll just speak for myself. Sometimes I get answers, but then I don't follow them, right? Because I don't want those answers. It's like, oh, give me the lucrative answer, or give me the answer that makes sense, right? And so I think the hardest action to take is not action, right? Like the hardest action to take is I'm not going to force this. So for instance, part of my life's work, not only in what I teach, but also in what I'm living, is very much being in this world, but not of it, right? Like really fully, I want to participate while I'm here, but not from that voice that I've learned from the world, right? I want to listen to another voice. Well, it's really challenging sometimes to navigate doing a business and having a life's work and many speaking engagements, or, getting your books out there, blah, blah, all the typical things, but from an inspired way, from a spiritual way, because very often I will get the advice not to act. And that's terrifying for me, because my brain or my logical self will say, yeah, but, everybody else is doing X. And so for me, it's continuously learning to trust the timing, because I literally believe spirit always saves time. It's just like complete time, and I'm never wrong for taking action. My spirit's always like, yeah, knock yourself out if you want to. You could if you want to. I wouldn't do it that way. But it's like that again, it saves time as we learn to listen to it. That sometimes we are asked to act, but in the right timing. And sometimes our action looks different. For some people, it really will be acting, taking major actions in the world. For some people, it might be go meditate more, go shift it inside, right? So again, one of the things I love about this path is it's such an individualized path. There is never a right way or a wrong way. It's like I'd want to know Glenda's voice. That's all I'd ever want to know, like whatever your spirit's saying, not what my spirit's saying, right? Because what I'm here to heal might not be what you're here to heal, right? So for some of us, we do have to. So I really appreciate you asking that question, because it really distinguishes. And that surrender question, oh my God, it's huge, because the biggest part of it for me is surrendering who I think I am. Right, is surrendering who I think I am, like how I think the world even works. It's really scary. It's to really like let go and realize, oh my God, my thoughts and my energy influences so much, and that I'm not the limited being I think I am. And that the sense of safety I think I need from limited ways might not be the way I need to do it. So, but again, the thing that comforts me, at least with A Course in Miracles, is I can try it out in little ways. I can try, the course that I've always loved, it just says, do this and it will work. So it's like the thing of, you're not asked to believe these ideas. You're not asked to like them. You're not asked to agree with them. You're asked to try them. And when you try them, they work. And that's what builds faith. So thank you so much. That was a great question.
Thank you for that. I can't see hands, and I know that Sina will let me know if there are other hands up, but if no one else has any questions, I definitely have some more.
Cool. And may I also just want to mention really quickly while I'm here, if anybody's ever interested in studying A Course in Miracles with me, of course, come on over. And I'm starting a new class on April 6th. So we're advertising it now. So if you're ever interested in doing an 8-week group, love to have you. So anyway.
Thank you for that. One of the things that you just said that really struck me was, and I've been hearing it repeatedly over and over again, is this whole releasing the fear, just learning how to release the fear that gets in the way of your ability to even hear the inner voice, honestly. Because I hear lots of inner voices, and I know that they are not all the voices I'm searching for, right?
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could just say a little bit more about how you most recommend getting in touch with your inspired self, I think is the words I've heard you use most often.
Many different ways. First of all, just the knowledge that if this does not feel good, I am not listening to the right voice. If this does not feel peaceful, I am not listening to the right voice. Because sometimes it doesn't feel good, and I think I am listening to the right voice because it doesn't feel good. It's familiar. I know it, right? And so that's been life-changing for me to know. I'll just say 2 quick things. One is really, really a new way for me lately, and it's been hard to practice, but it's just that, in the metaphysical community, or in those of us who are on the path of self-growth and healing and shifting, right? We're always trying to shift right away. Right? And I certainly am, always. And that's phenomenal. And A Course in Miracles is very much about that we can shift in an instant. However, if I can't shift right away, one of the things I find that's most healing is, can I love where I am? Can I love where I am? Can I take the place of disconnection? Can I take the place of anger? Can I take the place of feeling frustrated? And can I give myself love being there? Because anytime I give myself love, I'm free. Anytime there's love, I'm free. So even if I don't like where I am, right? If I give myself love there, it starts to shift, because normally I'm trying to fix it, heal it, get rid of it. So sometimes even the path of spiritual growth can sometimes be an attack, right? Can sometimes be an attack of, I must be doing it wrong. I'm not hearing Spirit's voice. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And so again, my first line of defense would be, how can I accept this? And maybe I can't even accept it fully, right? Maybe it's like I could accept it a tiny bit, right? Like to not make it wrong. And then again, from A Course in Miracles point of view, to recognize there's never an accident. There's a reason this is going on. This is not wrong. This is not bad. This is not some secret failure or limitation. That I want to welcome it. I want to invite it. I'm healing this thing. To your point about the other way to heal, as I know you know, in many of my books, I have a technique called the inspired self dialogues. It's something I personally have used. I created and used because it's the thing that heals me. Because just in case anybody was confused, I have a very busy mind. Just in case anybody had the idea that I'm in like Zen consciousness all the time, for me, when people say, well, meditate or just sit quietly, sometimes that hasn't helped me. My mind is too busy and it's racing and it's freaking out. And so what I do in the Inspired Self Dialogues, just briefly, it's a journaling technique, is I journal out the fears. I just write them out. I just write out, I'm scared this, I'm scared that, I'm frustrated with this, I'm frustrated with that. And then I write back from the voice of love. Then I write back from the voice of spirit. So for some of you, it might be God. For some of you, it might be my inner self. For some of you, it might be a role model. You had a loving mother or a loving father. I often tell people to even think in terms of how would you speak to a child or to your best friend or someone you love so much, and letting journaling back, right? Because for me, that technique showed me, oh my God, I do have two voices. Oh my God, clearly I have two. And then I let them dialogue back and forth. So my inner voice will say, choose peace, dear one. I am here, right? And my fear will go, yeah, well, I'm glad you're here because they're going to turn off the electricity if I don't pay my bill. That's really nice. And then I'll write back from that other voice of choose peace and here's how. And so literally I will write back and forth because it is a relationship, and it really has gotten me to peace. It really has gotten me to a different way of thinking.
Thank you for that. I love Inspired Self-Dialogue, and I know that you know that is one of my favorite tools. Has gotten me through many a uncomfortable place to just really sit quietly and write out what it is that I'm afraid of, and then trust that what's coming out is actually the voice of love, not just more ego nonsense, which can happen to me a lot too. But
yeah, but wait till your ego, by the way, your ego can start getting this other tone. I call it my spiritual ego now. So now my ego used to beat me up for, you're going to meditate. You're going to waste your time just sitting in silence, watching your thoughts. What are you, crazy? You have things to do. Now my ego has figured out that spirituality is important to me. So now it will make me wrong with, you didn't even meditate today. You are a loser. Right. So it's like, it will use anything. So that's why I always go back to, how does the voice feel? That's how you know which voice you're listening to.
that's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. You mentioned that you've been teaching A Course in Miracles for over 30 years, and I'm very interested in this sort of what feels to me like a very soft approach to kind of introducing A Course in Miracles to people. How did I've heard you've been described as, I don't know, by others or self-described, but as a spirituality legitimizer. Does that sound right?
I have it like one of my personal mission statements.
Yes.
In this world is, I am here to legitimize spirituality and creativity. I am here to legitimize spirituality and creativity. It's one of the deepest things for me.
Fabulous. So what is the inspiration behind bringing A Course in Miracles or any sort of spiritual path to people in what almost feels to me like a soft approach? It's not it doesn't feel like the hard, like I want to call it the hard sell, but I don't know that there's anybody out there that's actually hard selling spirituality, except, from the religious pulpits. But yeah, it just feels like that you just take a very soft approach to it. So what was the, how has that worked for you? What was the inspiration?
I guess for me, because I represent a lot of the population, right? That just was clueless. That was just, I was taught that security came from your education or how much money you had, or, who you married or who you didn't marry, or all the typical things we all learn. Right. And for me, so much of my greatest pain in this lifetime, because the part I didn't share about, when I was leaving my career, I got to so much pain, to so much depression that I didn't want to live anymore. I mean, it really got to that level of, I just didn't want to be on this planet anymore, because I had deeply wanted to write or do something like that. I'd been a creative person, but I was taught, and the messages in this world are so much like, that's stupid, that's frivolous, that won't make money, that's a softer thing, that's not really a whatever. And spirituality is also, right? Spirituality is just like, oh, that's nice. I mean, I even now, like I lead retreats all over the, in very nice retreat centers and blah, blah, blah. And I'll meet people on planes telling them, and they'll go, oh, well, if you're into navel gazing and that sort of thing. I mean, it's like just this dismissive, really dismissive attitude towards spirituality or towards creativity. And that dismissive attitude almost killed me because I dismissed it also. And it's in me picking it up with all my heart and soul and realizing this is the most amazing stuff in the world, right? This is, for me, this is like, why is the whole world not doing this? We would live in a wholly different world if more of us were choosing from love instead of fear. And so that's why I've dedicated my life to saying, I'm going to make this practical. I'm going to make this accessible. I'm going to go as deep as we can go. And I'm going to slip it in, baby, is what but that was my deep desire, is to really be a presence in this world that is really standing for this material. As when people say, oh, well, that's softer. It's like, oh, really? You try meditating for 2 seconds and tell me how easy that is. When people say, oh, well, that's just escapism. It's like, yeah, you try escaping that way. You show me how escapist that is, baby. You think navel gazing's so easy and lovely? I think watching TV is easy and lovely. It's like, again, so I feel a deep desire to represent that. Also, I am in love with human potential. I am madly in love I see this in my students. I see this in you, my love, Rhoda, in my coaching clients. I just see this in people I love and adore. The genius, I'll just even say you, the genius that's in you. It's like, if I can be part of bringing that out in the world, wow. It's like, I deeply believe that I am part of bringing out the genius in people and helping them stay true to it. Because like what we're talking about, you believe and then you get scared. You believe and then you get scared. You believe and then you get scared, right? And so yes. And as far as a softer approach, my softer approach is, while I personally teach A Course in Miracles, I could care less if people studied A Course in Miracles. That is not my thing. My thing is, I want somebody listening to their inner voice. I want them to listen to their spirit. And I don't know what somebody needs to follow. I don't know how it needs to work. So I'm always affirming that somebody's listening to the loving voice inside them, whatever they call it, however it approach, So again, so my approach is probably a little bit more expansive that way. So I think somebody's asking to ask a question here. I just noticed on chat. Cindy,
yes.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say I love you.
Oh, you're Cindy. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh, I wanted you to know I was here.
Oh, honey. Hi. Made my night. Thank you. Do you have a thought or a question or something? You don't have to.
Other than I love you.
I love you works for me. I love you works for me.
Every time I hear your voice, I feel like dancing, which is why when I saw that you were going to be here, I showed up.
That's awesome. And I wrote a book called This Time I Dance. So you're in the right vibration, right?
Rumor has it. That's all.
That's beautiful. Thank you, honey. Thank you.
I remember the first time I heard your voice. And so I think of you every day.
Oh, honey. Thank you. God. Wow. I'm thrilled. Mwah.
Yeah, you just seem to have that kind of impact on people, Tama. Thank you for being authentically you. Honestly, I honestly have to say.
Oh,
that.
if you had met me before A Course in Miracles, I had a different kind of impact on people. I've always been loving or kind in some ways, but the Course in Miracles, oh my God. Because I always tell Paul is my partner, and I always tell him like, God, the Course has just ruined me. I can't be judgmental and snarky like I used to be. And I was so good at it. So, yeah. I really deeply believe one of my deepest desires with the Course in Miracles, it's one of my favorite lines in the Course in Miracles. It says, when you have met me, You have met the presence of the alternative. When you have met me, you have met the presence of the alternative, capital P, capital A. And what it means is where there was pain, there will be love. Where there was negativity, there will not be negativity. And so for me, my deepest desire is to really model that, to be that presence of alternative, right? Because I am not a big fan of, there's a lot of spirituality that's taught out there, kind of like what you said, Rhoda, about from the pulpit sometimes, that's not modeled. It's not a modeling of love. It's the language of love. It's the words of love, but it's not the energy of it. It's not the true broadness. And what I got out of Course in Miracles is that unconditional acceptance and love for everybody. So that's what rocks my world. So.
Okay, Sina has a question. So Sina, mic is all yours.
Okay, Tama. So I've had this running heartbreak for 3 years. My son is living with his dad in Missouri, and I did get to see him this past December for 4 hours, but the relationship, we haven't really spoken in 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I've prayed so much about this. I've asked for guidance so much about this. One of the biggest things in this community is listening to the voice that likes you, listening to the Holy Spirit. And part of my practice is doing that. And I really believe it was guidance that told me to go, fly to Missouri and see my son. And I took PTO and everything lined up perfectly for me to go see him. And I knocked on his door for 9 days. And he never came out, except one day he was starving. So he just happened to go want to eat food. And I got to see him and we talked for 4 hours. And then recently I had guidance to give him flowers as a big token, like a bunch of flowers to show, almost like love blasting him and nothing. It seems like everything I do, and I'm listening, trying my best to listen and follow. It's not working. And then 2 days ago, I had a dream about him. And we were walking in a park, and he was saying such beautiful things to me. But it breaks my heart as well, because then I wake up, and this has happened way too many times where it's like we're getting along. We're talking, there's a relationship, there's love.
Yes.
And I don't know what to do with this because it's still that thing that is heavy on my heart. And I miss him so.
So tell me, first of all, do you pronounce your name Sina? Is that it? Or Sina? Or Sina? Okay.
Sina.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, those dreams, I think that's the real relationship. Those dreams, that's what's really happening. Somewhere, somehow, you two are really connecting. That's what's real. Everything else is the undoing of fear. But that is what's real. And so I'm not sure why you stopped talking or why he stopped talking or what happened there.
He's going through a really bad depression. And speaking of, I don't know how you say it properly, but nihilism. Yeah. He doesn't believe God exists. He doesn't believe love is real.
So what I would say, so here's the thing I would say that might be challenging, right? Sometimes I think we think we're giving love, but we think we're giving love in the way that we think love is, right? And one of the definitions I love about the Course in Miracles is it says that love is freedom. Love is freedom. And what that means is I free you to be who you are and where you are. And so if he wants space, maybe I'm still going to love him and I'm still going to write to him or I'm still going to whatever, but maybe we're going to accept that where he is or what he's doing is just right for him, right? And that maybe, and by the way, when you say, and I didn't connect and it seemed like all great, but then it didn't happen, it's like, but it did. He came out. He got hungry. He was going for pizza and he got Sina. It's like Holy Spirit did make it work. You talked for 4 hours. So you're saying, and it didn't work. And I thought I got guidance and da-da-da. And it's like, clearly it did work. And clearly there was connection. It may not be what you desire because you want more. I totally relate. I totally understand it. Like I want to be there for him. I want to, whatever. I live with, my partner is, a total introvert and I am not. And as you may have recognized, I'm sure that was a newsflash, but of my way of loving would be if something happens like, oh my God, can I help you? What is that? What is that eyelash mean? Like, what is this? And la, la, la. His way is leave me the hell alone. That's his. So we actually had an issue with this early in our relationship because when I'm hurting, he leaves me alone. And I think it's abandonment. Like, oh my God. But it took me years to realize that's his way of giving love, not my way, his way of giving love, And so I realized when he's hurting, what I will do is I will say, every bone in my body wants to be here right now and talk to you, but I'm going to say nothing and leave you alone. And I just want you to know I will be here 24/7 if you need me. But until then, I'm going to love you and bless you. And you got to know, I so believe in you. Right. So it's that. And the other quick thing I'll say to you about that is there's a lesson in the Course in Miracles, a section called True Empathy, where it's, I empathize with somebody's strength, not their weakness. I empathize with their strength, not their weakness. So what I would do, Sina, is I know how strong he is. I know how loved he is. I know who he walks with. And I know, and that's all I feed him is that strength. I know who you are. I know you got this, but I'm here. But I know you got this, right? So we love him in his way. So thank you. I'm glad that worked. I saw it. Thank you. Yay. Awesome. Cool. And that's hard. I mean, easy to say these things, really hard to do them, right? But I think, and I'll just speak to that, like so many times we think we're being loving in life. And for me, what I love about his path of spirituality is it's fresh and it's original and it's not the way we think, right? So I finally realized if I'm being really honest and loving, I'm not picking you up from the airport. I hate picking people up from the airport. I know that's what's supposed to be loving. I don't want to do it. And that's not loving. That's just me being false. However, I am the person, if you're hurting, I'll talk to you at 4 a.m. I'll walk you through anything all night. That would be me. Anything else, I'm not so good at. So again, I give that example as love doesn't have to look the way you think it could. Like just like Sina and I had this great conversation of you and I probably have similar ways of loving, right? Of like, I want to be there for you. I want to whatever. And I would too. But other people might want love in different ways. Or they might want love in ways we can't give as well, right? Like I can't love as well in that. But maybe we're going to be honest saying, God, everything in me wants to do X, but I love you so much that if this is the way you want it, then I'm going to do that. So thank you.
Excellent. So I can't see any other hands, Sina. Should I be the next one to ask a question or are there any other hands? Okay, thank you. Because I have lots of questions. So, unless someone else raises their hand, I guess I can just keep
And I
asking
love questions. And I love making it personal too. I really do. I love that, that we heal in this. So.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has become very apparent to me lately is how the self that I tend to think I am gets built up. And I can't even believe how many beliefs there are that make up this personality called Rhoda. Like, I used to think it was just, oh, I'm a mother. Oh, I'm, a career woman. Oh, I'm a partner. Oh, I'm a friend. But wow, it is everything from, oh, I'm not good enough to, oh, I'm loud. Oh, I mean, like it is everything. Mm-hmm. And so coming to that realization, it's kind of bizarre now because I don't know who am I supposed to be in all this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Rhoda, one thing I'll say, I don't know if this answers this or if we even got to where you were going to ask, but I used to think like I have to change everything about my personality, like, oh my God, because I always wondered, like I was always scared, like in my coaching practice, I've talked to you about this, but like in my coaching practice or in my classes or whatever, I was always worried about, like, am I coming from the true right voice? Am I really coming from the right voice? Because, it's how I make my living. And certainly in the beginning days, it was like, I need a client. So I hope you have an issue. It's like, I need to pay a bill. So I hope you talk to your mother or something. Right. So it's like, so I always used to have this fear of, like, am I really living from the right place? Like, if I'm listening to the Holy Spirit, I want you whole and healed, and, I don't want anything from you. Right. And so I remember always praying to Spirit, like, I'm scared that maybe I'm not doing this right. I'm scared that, like, somehow, I'm in the way, or maybe I'm not pure, or whatever. And it was really always beautiful, because my inner teacher would be like, oh, yeah, we know. Yeah, we know. No worries. You did not have us fooled. No worries. And what it was for me, anytime I am with a client or I am teaching, that purity always comes through. Like, all my other stuff goes out the window, right? And so, but my point in this was, I did not have to be 100% healed in order to do this work. I did not have to lose Tamo, because, like, your thing, your fear, you're loud. Well, I can be loud, right? Because I used to worry, like, oh my God, if you have to be spiritual, I have to be soft and demure. And what if I can't wear makeup? That is so not going to work for me, like, oh my God, and so again, I think Spirit uses all of us. All of us. If you are soft and demure, that's exactly how you should be. If you're loud, that's exactly how you should be. If you're, intellectual, that's how you should be. If you're, I think Spirit has a million uses for all of us. Right. And so again, I kept thinking I had to change everything about me, or that my identity couldn't be there. The difference, though, with A Course in Miracles, I think the difference is, it's never so much about what we do, as much as it's about why we do it. Right. It's not what we do, but why. We always look at the motivation. Is it coming from love or fear? Is it coming from love or fear? And even sometimes I can still be in fear, and Spirit can still use it. Right. So again, there's a lot, I'm going to misquote it because I don't know the exact quote, but it's almost like, I can take anything you do and take it to the purposes of good. Right. So don't worry so much, right, about, figuring out exactly who you are. You're all of it, and you're none of it.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Very helpful. So one of the other favorite books that I have, actually the one that actually caused me to walk away from what I was doing in my life, was Inspired and Unstoppable. This one right here. Love that book. And in that book, for whatever reason, I think that when I first read this book, or when I was only listening to it on audio, and I really hadn't spent as much time going through the book itself. But then I lifted the book up and I noticed, oh my gosh, look at the way this is organized. Everything in here is like a pointer towards something miraculous about what's inside of us. Mm-hmm. There are no obstacles. Timing will turn on a dime. So one of the things that you had mentioned earlier, someone was talking about, I'm not sure I'll get it right, but talking about, when things happen or things not happening in the timing that they want. What is it that you have found is most important when it comes to expectations and being attached to the outcomes in terms of timing?
Work in progress, but again, I have to work with that a lot, because I have a busy mind, and I have a part of me that wants to do something, and I want it to happen, or I want it to take off, or then I compare myself to other people and I think they're doing it, or whatever. So the thing about timing is always, again, that it's not linear time, it's inspired time, and that it literally will happen in an instant, but it happens when we let go, right? It happens when I'm not needing, right? And so A Course in Miracles says that sometimes what you think of as your greatest failures have actually been your greatest successes. And sometimes what you think of as your greatest successes have been your greatest failures. Because again, my ego may want something to happen because I'm trying to prove myself. Like if I finish a book and get it published, then I'll be okay. And I think Spirit's trying to get me to, honey, you couldn't be more okay. Honey, you couldn't be more loved. If you want to write a book and publish it, yay, that's wonderful. Let's do it. But not because we're proving it's not going to make you more better, as one of my friends says. It's not going to, again, it's not going to, and so that's the thing I get twisted up a lot, is that I think once I have that, then I'll be more secure or more whatever. And my own healing is healing the belief that's in the way. Like if right now isn't okay with me, being in process isn't okay with me. Why? What's the belief? The belief is I'm not okay because of this. I'm not okay because of that, right? So, and the Course in Miracles says that a miracle happens in an instant, literally in an instant. And then it says, however, readiness can take some time. However, ready. And I will just share personally, I've journaled about this obsessively. And my inner teacher has said to me, harsh words, but in love, total love, especially in the beginning with This Time I Dance, it always used to say this, like, I'd be like so frustrated. Why is it taking so long? Or why can't things take off? Or blah, blah, blah. And it would always say, I have no interest in making you a beacon to humanity until you are one. I have no interest in creating your success at a certain level so your ego can feel good while you still don't feel okay. Like when you know who you are, you know what you are, then let's talk. Right. And so and again, it was always really loving with me. But, for me, some of the timing was just the second I'm thinking about timing, it's because there's discomfort with what is. And every spiritual path will say, it's here now. It's here now. What's the belief that's in the way? Just like kind of going back to Sina's thing, right? Her belief might have been, but I want to be connected to my son. And Spirit showing her, you are, honey. Look at this ideal relationship. In the dreams, that is the love that's there. Our brain is going, but I'm not connected. And Spirit's going, oh, yes, you are. So again, there's always a belief that's in the way.
Gorgeous. Thank you, Sina.
Okay, so that was mighty freaky and cool, Tama, because I was literally, you read my mind, because I was asking myself, okay, so what is your belief? Meaning me, what is my belief? What is my block here? And what came in was, I believe, here's my belief, I miss him. Yeah. His physical presence isn't here. Yeah. I believe I need his physical presence here. So yes. I was going to ask you, what do I do with that?
And I just cut to the punch, right? I just said, oh, let's just save time here, bing. No, and that's hard, right? I mean, there is truth. And we all lose people. I have a dog that transitioned some years ago. I miss him so much. I miss his smell. I miss his body. I mean, the physicality of it, right? But we're still connected. We're still in love, right? Always in love. And it's okay to miss something. And the other part, I turn that missing into love is one of the things I do. Instead of like that ache, right, of like that missing, I take it as this is an even deeper love. Like, oh my God, I had that love in my lifetime. I am so blessed. Oh my God, I have a son that I love this much. I am so blessed. And I promise you, the more you feel connected with him and the more you take your cues from him and let him call the shots that way, like letting him be free to be wherever he is, he'll reach out to you because you're a cool person to be with. It's true. It's like, and again, for all of us, and this is not easy, we have to love people on their terms, right? Like, I'm so grateful because I write all the time in my journal to my inner teacher, right? And I'll ask the same question 500 times every year. I mean, good Lord, the same thing. I'll be going back and going back. And my inner teacher has never once said, you dumb moron, we covered this. We covered this in 1999. What did you not get then? Right? He never does that. It's like, oh, good for you. You're coming to me. Yay. It's that infinite love. It's that you can do no wrong. It's that infinite love. Right. So, and by the way, for all of us, I think it's always like focusing on what is working, right? Like you had that miracle of like Spirit open the door, even when he didn't want to. And by the way, here's the other thing about the belief. Here's another shift about belief. What are you making it mean? Right? Like that's always the Course in Miracles. What am I making? I'm making it mean that my son doesn't want to talk to me because he doesn't love me. I'm making it mean he doesn't want to talk to me because I'm not that special to him. I'm making it mean because he doesn't want to talk to me because I don't reach him in the way he wants to be reached. Well, here's the real thing. My son is hurting, and my son in depression is taking care of himself. Like that's his thing. He doesn't know how to love. He doesn't know how to receive love. This has nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing to do with me, right? This is just him. Right? Of that, it's where he is. That's what he's doing, right? It has nothing to do with me. So it's more like, now that I know that it has nothing to do with me, I still get a choice about what I do, right? Or how I show up, but I'm not taking it personally at all, right? And it's like, if you don't take it personally and you let him know, he has no way of hurting you. He cannot fail you ever because he thinks he's failing everybody. He's in depression. He thinks he's failing everybody. He thinks he's letting everyone down. He doesn't. It blows my mind. In course, I teach A Course in Miracles, and I will have different people like not show up for class, and they'll tell me, "Yeah, Tama, I felt like I was depressed, so I was isolating." And I'll always be like, "Oh my God, that's the time we'd want you most here. We'd want to love you. We want to hold you, right?" But people don't. Everybody reacts differently, right? And so they think I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a burden. I'm a drag. I don't want to show up and be a burden, right? And so, again, we're always like, from A Course in Miracles point of view, where am I taking it on? Where am I making something mean something it doesn't? Because even if he did say that, even if he did mean it, like, no, actually, it's true. I don't connect with you at all. Like your worst fear. Like even if it was your worst fear, right? That would still be his fear self, not his real self. I think he's sending you those dreams. I think Spirit's sending you those dreams, and he's sending you those dreams because that's what's real. You are connected, and you can send him some dreams back. So.
Okay, now I have to ask, how do I do that? Because I don't know how to send a dream.
Nor do I. But you're the person who had the dream, so you know something,
Okay.
I'm like, you know what? So what I would do personally, I would say, Holy Spirit, whoever it is you believe in, whatever, you love my son for me. I don't know how. You show me. You love him. You let him know. You infiltrate his dreams or make him read a passage in a book or whatever it is. I don't know what needs to happen, but you love him, and I'm going to give it to you. Talk about surrender. We were talking about surrender before. I'm surrendering him to you. I love him more than anything, and I know that your love is invincible. And so I know that he's got you. Even if he doesn't know it, he's got you. Even if he doesn't believe it, he's got you. And I'm not gonna tell him he needs spirituality, right? I'm not. I never inflict spirituality. I mean, I try inflicting spirituality on people. And then when I don't, I now use that ex-boyfriend's technique. I'll teach it to you without telling you what it is. I'll model it to you, right? So thank you. And I feel your love, that love. He knows that. He knows that. He doesn't want to let you down. He doesn't want to worry you. He's embarrassed about where he is. Right. So it's, again, we're just like letting him know he can do no wrong. Whatever you need, baby. You need space. You got space. You need to connect. You got, I'm here 24/7 if you need me. Cool. Thank you, honey. Thanks for your honesty. All right.
I'm just going to take a breath here and just take a quick pause. We have about 8 minutes left. And I'd like to make sure that I'm giving space for anyone else who would like to ask a question.
And I'm going to bug you all because you're all interesting, incredible teachers and students. Like, join me in something, right? Take the free class, right? I'd love to connect. So,
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
that's me inflicting my will on you. So there. Here, let me show you a demonstration of how that goes.
Well, if no one else has another question, I have something else that just showed up for me as you and Sina were talking. It is one of those things that I tend to notice when one of my children walk into a room where I telepathically then decide what is going on with them. And my oldest son, who I hadn't seen in about a month, because everyone here had been sick, came for dinner today. And when he walked in the house, the countenance to me said, he's angry, he's upset, he's depressed. And instantly there was like a freeze moment. Like, not only, I mean, I didn't ask, I didn't say, hey, you look upset. I didn't do any of that. And I found myself like in that freeze place. Like when you get into those freeze places and it feels like even wisdom can't come in, like nothing can come in. It just, and I personally struggle with this, not knowing where to go when I'm frozen and wanting to, feeling like I need to help somehow.
Bingo. That's the problem. I was waiting. I need to always fix them. I mean, help them. I mean, love them. I mean, change them. I mean, change what they are so that I can feel okay. Right. So it's
You
that.
just called me on that.
I know, baby. But it's like, again, and that's true for all of us. So I have the same issue in a different way. Like I have it with my intimate partner, right? Like if only Paul would act a certain way, oh my God, you wouldn't believe how loving I would be. You wouldn't believe how kind I will be as long as you follow my exact script. As long as you do everything I want. Oh my God, I'm your girl. However, should you have free will and do what you want in the way you want it, all bets are off. And so my own healing in that way is that the free. So Rhoda, you were saying, I need to fix him. He looks angry. He looks sad. He looks whatever. I need to change him so that I can feel okay. Right. And it's like, what if I didn't need to change anybody ever? Right. To be okay. The Course in Miracles is never about, I'm here to fix other people. I'm here to help other people. I'm here to heal me. I am here to become whole. I'm here to know there are no limits. And when I do that, I'll see you a certain way. So the cheat I do now, like for myself, is when I'm dealing with my partner, Paul has a health issue that comes up, surfaces in different ways. And he has it affects the way that he thinks and he can't focus or he can't whatever. And I will immediately go into fear. I will immediately get into fear, or I will immediately go into what is this going to mean? And how is this whatever? And what I always have to try to remember is I'll take a moment in time where I saw who Paul really was, his real strength, his real intelligence, his real whoever. And I will remember that's who he is. That's who he is. And this is showing up right now, but it doesn't scare me because I know who he is. Right. And it's the same thing. It's the same way that I'd want people to treat me, because I can show up like a neurotic mess and I want somebody to go, I know who you are, Tama. Come on. Right. And so again, it's the same thing. So you're going to always remember that we as whether if you're in A Course in Miracles, we as healers are going to remember who people are, even when they forget. We are going to remember their strength. We are going to remember their love. We are going to remember their potential. And we are also going to remember who walks with them. Right. And that it's not our job to fix them, because there's nothing wrong. Because sometimes somebody's going through pain or depression. It's part of their process, right? It's part of where they need to be. I'm not saying ignore people. I'm not saying let somebody slip into a, real depression and without treatment or anything. I'm never saying something like that. If you're getting an instinct from the spirit, which I believe you would, you know the difference when you're being told, go in there and help somebody, versus your own personality, right? That's saying, I don't feel okay because of this, right? So it's just another, I always call them pop quizzes. Yay. And I fail them all the time. Pop quizzes. Yay. Because there are certain people who are our teachers, right? Like there are people we do it effortlessly, right? But then the people that matter the most are often the places where we heal the most. So thank you for that example.
Well, that being said, that was absolutely perfect, to remember that I need to remember who they are and to remember who I am and to not try to fix others.
I'll give you an example. When my mother was alive, she's no longer alive. When she was alive, I used to worry all the time because she lived in New York. I live in Denver. It's 2,000 miles away. And I worried all the time about her health. And I worried she's not going to the doctor and she's not following up and she's not this. And then I remember finally that surrender thing again, because we do feel helpless with people we care about. We do feel helpless of wanting to whatever. And I finally realized she has her God, whether or not she believes in a God, whether or not she calls it, I don't care what you call it, by the way, she has her spirit or that essence that's looking out for her. And that presence loves her even more than I do. That presence loves her even more than I do. So I don't need to worry. It's like she's got her path. And you know what was interesting? I was so worried all the time. She never followed up with doctors. She never followed up with this. She never followed up with that. My mom died in a car accident. And what's fascinating to me is I'm so glad she never followed up with all those doctors. I'm so glad she didn't waste all that time in getting tests she didn't need, getting poked and prodded and whatever in ways she didn't want to. Maybe her intelligence knew something I didn't, right? Maybe she knew on some level or whatever, right? So again, we allow people the freedom to be who they are and where they are and realize things when they realize it.
Well, I just feel so energized and so blessed to have had the opportunity to have you here tonight, Tama. I know that I speak on behalf of everyone here and everyone who listens to this on the radio and will listen to this in the future. This has just been divine. And if anyone is interested in knowing more, Sina posted your free course in the chat box. And you can find Tama at www.tamakieves.com. That's TAMAKIEVES.com.
Thank you for the privilege of being here, and truly the privilege of being in a community of people who are daring to listen to light inside themselves is an incredible privilege. It really is. I so admire and love all of you, because for me, you are the presence of the alternative. Whatever your path is, however you're doing it, I deeply believe even if you feel like you're alone in your room, you're healing this world, baby. We're in the army of lights and we'd be doing this together, so it's like, you're my comrades. And I always feel so honored to be on the same path. And you all teach me just as much as I teach you. And the love that's here, I felt that. I felt this palpable love. And even in the questions, they were all love, right? I love my child so much. How do I help, right? I love whatever, in the depth of this. So I feel honored to be among a community of people who are daring to live in this light. And please know, every one of us, we are shifting this world every single minute. This call just did something, right? So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tama. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great evening, all. Enjoy the rest.